It doesn't matter what softwares you know today, because with time, every technical skill gets outdated. What truly stays with you are the core principles, your mindset, and the way you think about your subject. Welcome to the Foundations for UX Design, a 15-episode series that will take you through all the important lessons and realizations I've had so far as a self-taught UX designer. My name is Ansh Mehra and I am a product designer and storyteller at Zuddle.com, which is a virtual events hosting platform. In this session, we will be learning some of the most common mistakes students make when they begin their career as a UX designer. I hope you've seen all videos from the series preceding this episode. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this session. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. Hey, welcome to lecture 3, and today we will be discussing how can you optimize your design workspace, your energy and your expenditure. Now, before we move forward, I'm going to assume that you have seen my first 2 episodes. You have completed all the Figma playlists that I had mentioned, and if you haven't, that's totally alright because you can finish them after seeing this video. And in the end, I hope that you're taking care of your mind and your body because all of these things don't really make much sense if your mind and body are not working for you. Now, the entire logic behind this topic is to tell people that it's supremely important to think beyond your Figma files. I see a lot of people who are really focused on how they structure their Figma files, but they totally ignore things that are outside of their laptop. And the fact is that there are so many things in your physical reality that are influencing your output, that are affecting the way you create things, that are affecting the way you feel about your work. And if you don't focus on these things, it would soon take a toll on your creative abilities. When I talk about energy, when I talk about capital, you should try to understand these things from a non-tangible perspective. Now, I know that I'm using really heavy words, but in a span of 5 to 10 minutes, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. The point is that there has to be an order, a carefully thought order in which you invest your energy and capital. I try to make sure that everything that I do is usually an investment and not expenditure. When I'm buying something, even if I'm making a mistake, I perceive it as an investment. Now, I know it sounds too cliched, but you would soon realize that all these cliched things actually help you a lot in the longer run. Now, the list that I'm going to share with you right now, it's extremely subjective and it's based on my personal priorities. So I would recommend you to pick what suits for your use case and then go ahead with your own list. But of course, a lot of these things would need a certain amount of finance. So you have to make sure that you implement this entire list once you've started making your own money, maybe through your freelance gigs, maybe through a side hustle, any kind of an income stream. And most importantly, you cannot have everything all at once. We discussed a similar topic in our previous episode. The same applies to here as well, that no matter what you do, you should not spend all your energy or your capital together on all of these things. Now, it's very interesting and it's actually a very important fact that your work is a reflection of how you feel. If your work feels a certain way, there's a huge probability that the energy that your work radiates is approximately closer to the energy that you feel inside of you. I know that when people are feeling really low, it shows in their output. I know that when people are not inspired, it shows in their output. And it's not just in art, it's in sports, it's in singing, it's in dancing, it's visible everywhere. So as a designer, as a creative individual, it's very difficult to understand what is the source of my creativity, what is the source of my energy, because you get unlimited energy at the start of every day. But there are things choreographed in the society that we live in that would snatch away your attention. So everything would be grabbing your attention. You have to make sure that I spend maximum time on my nutrition and my exercise. Now, why do I say the word nutrition here? It's because maybe 10-15 years ago, our parents, or maybe when we were super young, we had a bunch of habits that took care of our nutrition. But even I am guilty of this, right? We have forgotten how to eat healthy. And when we don't eat healthy, the raw material that is required to run our bodies at its optimum level goes missing. And when your body doesn't get the required raw materials, it would eventually go against you because it's going to get mad at you, saying that, hey, you're not even putting the fuel that I need to run this machine properly, so I'm going to punish you for it. So I'll share some of the habits that I take. And I also have a trainer. He trains me virtually. I don't go to the gym. So he makes my diet chart. He helps me exercise. His name is Digash. And I would put his link in the description. I'm not plugging him in, but he's a wonderful trainer. So he's made me a diet chart where as soon as I wake up, I would have warm water, apple. Then at 12 o'clock, I would have a coconut water, maybe kiwi. I try to have at least 1 or 2 kiwis every alternate days. Then I would make sure that I am exercising, at least 3 days a week, minimum 3 days a week I would exercise. And I have this practice where I would do jumping jacks or push-ups in between my work sessions, which is extremely important because I'll tell you something about your body. Your body will not generate energy unless you ask for it. So if you're sitting on your bed all day long, your body would feel that, oh, this guy doesn't really need energy, so why should I make extra? Or why should I make any energy at all? So you would start feeling slightly lazy and lethargic, which again is really bad for you. It's very, very important that you feel inspired, that you feel energetic and you feel good when you're working. But working remotely, sitting at your desk all day long, eating all kinds of junk food would eventually depreciate the quality of your work. The second thing, something that very few people talk about this, I would recommend you to invest in a really good mattress and a really good pillow. Now, mattresses are extremely expensive, but you can definitely buy a really good pillow. Why do I say this? How is this related to design? It is. And it's really, really interesting how sleep can influence our mood, how a comfortable sleep can do wonders for us in our personal and our professional lives, but very few people even recognize this fact. So if you feel that a mattress is too expensive for you right now, buy a pillow. Buy a really good pillow because a huge amount of your life is spent sleeping. So if you're not sleeping well, it will eventually, again, as I said, depreciate the quality of work that you do. The third would be your primary workstation. So now that we have covered our body and our mind and our nutrition, this physical machine that helps me function on a day-to-day basis, now we come to the technical machine that I need to produce my work. I feel that a really expensive laptop is a wonderful investment, right? But a lot of people, they feel that by saving $20,000 or $30,000, they're making a smart move. But they don't realize that by saving that 20,000 or 30,000, they end up wasting a lot of time in the longer run. They end up wasting a lot of opportunities, right? Because when you have a really expensive laptop, one, your efficiency goes up. Two, you're able to install better softwares, and the time it takes to render things or the time it takes to export things reduces. So you can get done with more things in a less amount of time. And you should definitely opt for a laptop, like a really expensive laptop, rather than go for a PC, because in this day and age, it's extremely important that you're on the go, you're moving, right? So until unless you are into video editing and where you need that really big canvas, I feel that a really expensive laptop is a better investment. Then there are few things that you can add to your workspace to simply optimize the way you work. So for example, in my desk, I have these little wire organizing clips. I would keep my charging wires there so I don't have to go down and pick those wires up. If I have to charge something, I would simply plug it there. I have a phone holder on my desk. I would keep my phone in that desk so that I don't have to hold my phone when I'm having conversations. I would just keep it in front of me during video calls, during anything, right? Because if you're using one hand to use your phone or to pick up your calls, you're essentially reducing 50% of the output your body can use. Right now, I know that I sound really, really paranoid. You can say that why is he making such a big issue of using one hand for the phone? But These things compound with time. I really want you to learn how to live a comfortable life and still be really good at what you're doing. I'm not saying that I am the best at what I'm doing. I'm not saying that I am the most successful person, but I know for a fact that these things have helped me come way far ahead from where I started. Then I always make sure that I have a dustbin near my desk and a water bottle on my desk. So I have a water bottle right here in front of me. I make sure that that bottle is right there in front of me, because when you're working, when you're in that flow state, you often forget to eat. You often forget to drink water, which is really bad. You have to keep yourself hydrated. And that reminds me, I think even I should drink some water. My throat is getting dry. I would recommend you to protect that laptop with a trackpad guard, with a keyboard guard, and a cover on both the front of the laptop and the bottom of the laptop, because laptops depreciate very quickly after a year or so, and you should always maintain your gadgets in a very clean way. Why? So that their resale value never depreciates. After 4 years or 5 years, when your machine gets outdated and if you're running short of a little bit of money, if you have taken good care of your gadget, you can increase the resale value by at least 15%. So if you were getting 50,000 before, if you had taken good care of your laptop, you might get 65k. So it just feels okay, right? Because you've used this entire laptop, and then after a while you can exchange it by authorized dealerships and by authorized stores. Like brands do this, but they would do this only if you take care of your gadget. So have a neat study table, keep it organized, keep your laptop protected at all costs, and try to make sure that you invest in a really good chair, because a lot of your time when you're working, it would be spent on sitting on that chair. And if that chair is not comfortable, you would soon avoid going to that chair, right? Your workspace should be inviting. You should invest in the visual appeal of your workspace so that you feel happy going back to your desk. And it's okay, right? Even if you're saying, oh, this chair is costing me 10,000 bucks, if it is worth it, you should definitely go for it, because there's a cognitive bias. You think that, oh, I'm buying a chair for 10,000 bucks, but you're not understanding the point that it would last you for 2 years. And when you divide it by 600, the cost per day is too low, right? If you do a trade-off between the comfort that you get as compared to the cost that you're paying on a daily basis, you realize that investing in a really expensive chair gives you really high returns. On fourth is courses and books. Most courses that I do are free. Sometimes I buy paid courses. An exception is Rachna Ranade's course on stock market. I've bought all her courses. So that have those courses have really opened up my mind. But when it comes to books, I do not shy away from spending anything on books, right? And I always buy hardcover books, because hardcover books, just like a good workspace, are really inviting, right? The process of you reading and learning and working on yourself should feel really comfortable and feel really luxurious, right? Otherwise, why would you do it? So invest in books. It is the most important investment. And of course, we will be talking about all the books that have really helped me. But if we talk about the classics, I would recommend you to read Think and Grow Rich. I would recommend you to read Shoe Dog. Then you should definitely read Principles if you are trying to understand how management works, how company structures work. Then you should definitely read Psychology of Money. It's a brilliant book. And in the previous video, I had also mentioned The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's a wonderful book. I feel that it would just change your life. So yes, coming on the fifth topic, subscriptions and plugins. I think I spent a good amount of money on all kinds of subscriptions, because when you pay for specific softwares, you get a lot of ROI. And I have invested in software licenses, productivity applications, all these things that I know help me save my time. So I can't hire an assistant, but I can buy Todoist, which is a wonderful day planner. I can buy Habitify, which reminds me about my diet, my food, everything. So the diet chart that my trainer has given to me, I have made this habit chart in Habitify. I've also made it in, Todoist. So I use that. I use Splice, I use Adobe CC, I use Envato. All these things have really, really improved the way I create. And when people look at my work, they're like, how does Ansh get all these things done? The secret is that I leverage technology. I pay for technology. I obviously promote being really resourceful on the internet. Like, there's so many valuable things that are available for free. But if you're intelligent, spending 2 or 3K on a specific subscription or on a specific third-party plugin doesn't hurt you. In fact, it would elevate your quality of work to another level. So do consider that. And sixth is investments with high liquidity and low risk. And this could be a recurring deposit, and you can set the debiting of the recurring deposit 4 days after your salary date. It's just to make sure that you have some liquid money in your pocket, because as a growing individual, you might have to buy something, or you might have to travel, or you might have to take some risks, or maybe shift homes, right? Or maybe change a job. At that point, money should not be a barrier. At that point, you should have enough courage to make sure that I have the financial backing to take this step. I have the emotional strength, I have all the facts in my hand, and I have the financial backing. In most cases, people have the courage, they have the facts, they know what to do, but money stops them. Currency stops them. That should not happen to you. So whatever that you're making, I would recommend you to read The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a wonderful book. And I also mentioned Psychology of Money. You can try recurring deposits, or you can try small cases. I think small cases are brilliant. You have a very low threshold, a very low entry barrier, and you can easily invest small amounts of money, and in a span of 10 to 12 months, you would have a good result. And seventh is your clothing, skincare, and other luxuries, which are really, really important. It's really crucial that you recognize the power of first impressions. If you don't understand how first impressions work, it's not like you will not succeed, but it would simply take you a lot of time to prove your credibility. The society is running on all these superficial characteristics, and if you don't leverage, or if you don't capitalize on their cognitive biases, then you are the stupid one. So there's a game playing, right? And if you want to win the game, you have to play by the rules. You can't just enter the game and say that, hey, I'm going to change the rules. If you want to change the rules, you'll probably sacrifice your days and years. And, even then it's not sure if the game would change. But understand the importance of first impressions, and your clothing and the way you take care of your body, the way you take care of your hair and your skin, and just about how you carry yourself plays a huge, huge role. So if you're going with all shabby hair, oily face, it looks like you haven't taken a bath in 3 days. And if you're meeting your clients, or if you're meeting your investors with that attire, it's not like you will not get the funding. You will get it, but it would take you more effort to convince them. So why to simply ignore these things? Let's just understand how the game works, and let's just use those rules for our own advantage. I'm actually a pretty simple guy, right? I don't spend too much money on my clothes, but I have these set of clothes that I wear when I know that I am going someplace important. Usually I wouldn't wash my face for days, I wouldn't take a bath for days, but when I know that I have a pitch, when I know that these cognitive biases are going to be working for me, I make sure that I clean myself up and I look tidy, and I work on my communication, and I make sure that I present myself well. So these are the 7 things. And you would say that, what is the logic behind this list? The entire list is in the order of long-term gains to short-term gains, because it's all about the 20-80 principle, right? Just by changing the food you eat, or just by investing in a better pillow, or just by investing in a better chair, you would have so much impact and so much improvement that you'll be like, whoa, dude, this is so much better than any course or book that I've ever had. And the fact that you're investing in your body and your mind would reassure the fact that you're investing in this machinery, which no one can take away from you. Obviously, there are surprises, and you can't predict everything in life, but people can take away your laptop, people can take away your books, your courses, they can take away everything that is external. But if you have a strong mind and a strong body, then you know that it's very difficult to take these things away from you, right? So if I'm learning a new software, that software might get outdated, but if I'm understanding, if I'm learning time management, if I'm learning prioritization, then I know that these skills are immune to all these going trends, to all these transitions that are happening in front of me. If I work on myself, if I understand how to carry myself, how to talk to people, how to navigate through problems, these are universal traits, right? So do not get intimidated by the one-time cost. I know that you need some amount of money to buy those dry fruits and all these expensive things and get a trainer and all these things. It's okay. Begin small. Start freelancing, start collecting money, and we will discuss these topics in the upcoming sessions as to how you have to pitch, how to have that confidence, and how to have that skill where you can capitalize and ask more than others. But yes, these are some really important points. So let's quickly summarize, right? The first point is think beyond your digital workspace. People feel that what they do in the laptop is the only thing that matters, but in reality, everything that is happening outside of your laptop, outside of your Figma files, is also affecting your work. Second, invest in your physical environment. Don't just stick to virtual spaces. Invest in a better pillow, invest in a better mattress, invest in a better workspace, invest in a better room to sit in. Prioritize the order in which you spend your money, because as soon as you get money, if you don't prioritize things, you would just buy the first thing that gets your attention, which will really, really harm you in the longer run. And focus on things that are immune to external influences, because your internal energy will be reflected in the kind of work that you put out. Now you'd be like, Ansh, why do you need to say all these things? It's because I want to make sure that you don't just grow as a designer, but you grow as a human being, right? Because it doesn't matter what software that you're using right now. You have to make sure that you are bulletproof, right? No matter what happens, you know how to carry yourself. And these are the topics that very few people discuss. And these are the topics that are truly, truly affecting our lives. Health and wealth are two topics that would affect you the most. It's okay, you can focus on your career and your profession, but if you don't know how to manage your time and your body and your thoughts and your finances, not only you will suffer, but your loved ones will suffer. And if you don't take care of these things on time, if you don't think about these things, people who will come after you will also suffer. So I know I sound like a 45-year-old uncle, but I'm not talking from my own experiences. I've had the opportunity to observe people who are really, really elder to me, and I've been in close contact with a bunch of people since childhood. It's a blessing, but it's also sort of like a curse. But I want to make sure that as designers in this design community, especially in India, right, I want to make sure that we all grow with the right mindset, so that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we build a community that is not only skillfully or technically strong, but they're mentally and physically strong as well. So here is a little homework before you see the next episode. Please finish the Getting Started playlist on Figma's YouTube channel. And if you feel that, no, I see the videos in another tab and then I'm working on another tab, Figma has actually released their own plugin called the Figma Tips plugin. So while you're working on your Figma workspace, you can open their plugin and watch their tutorial videos within your Figma file. And then please make sure that you watch my last 3 videos on this channel. The first video was on my story as to why am I even doing all these things. And then the 2 episodes from this Foundation for UX Design series. And then in the end, start documenting your goals and your intentions on Notion. Because if you don't know where you're going, you would lose motivation, right? And because you're starting new, you would have to revisit a lot of things. If you don't document your learnings, you would have no page to go back to. You will have no source to go back to, and you will start forgetting things. So whatever time that you're spending, even if you're spending 10 hours every day, if you're forgetting all things as you learn new things, which is, I think it's called retroactive introspection, retroactive interference or something like that. Like you learn new things and you keep forgetting old things. That doesn't make any sense. So when you document your things on Notion, you can revisit them very easily. So that would really help you. So yes, I hope you liked this session. I've tried to reduce the duration of all of these sessions. But if you learned something valuable, please post a story on Instagram and tag me on @anshmehra.png. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and put your comments in the video section down below, because when you comment, I know that the content is working for you guys. So yes, I will meet you super soon, and the Hindi episode will also be released next week. All my episodes are released both in Hindi and in English. And to be honest, the Hindi episodes have their own charm. This is Ansh Mehra. Thank you so much, guys. See you soon.
हेलो।
हाँ जी, गुड इवनिंग तिवारी सर। मैं एक्चुअली आपको काफी टाइम से फोन मिला रहा था।
हाँ अच्छा हाँ हाँ जी बेटा, कैसे हो आप?
सर सब ठीक। मुझे बस पेमेंट का पूछना था। मैंने सारी फाइल्स अरुण को भेज दी थी, बट अभी तक उन्होंने पेमेंट नहीं ट्रांसफर करी।
अरे बेटा, आपको पैसे की नहीं ब्लेसिंग्स की कदर करनी चाहिए। अरे आप तो हमारे बच्चे की तरह हो। आपको पैसे मिले ना मिले, बट ब्लेसिंग्स तो मिलेंगी ना।
अंकल, बट अमाउंट इतना भी छोटा नहीं है। इफ पॉसिबल आप आधी पेमेंट आज भेज दो, आधी नेक्स्ट वीक भेज देना।
हाँ समझ गया बेटा, बट बेटा सच बोलूं तो ना मुझे मजा ही नहीं आया। मतलब बड़ा ही सिंपल सा बना दिया आपने, उसमें ना वो बात नहीं आ रही।
अंकल, वो वेबसाइट ना एक मिनिमल एस्थेटिक में बनी हुई है।
बट बच्चा, मेरे क्लाइंट्स तो मिनिमम नहीं है ना।
नहीं अंकल, मिनिमल मतलब थोड़ा सिंपल एंड क्लीन बनाया मैंने उसे। अब डिजाइन से पहले मैंने आपसे कितनी बारी बोला था कि मुझे थोड़ी रेफरेंसेस भेज दो, बट आपने बोला जो अच्छा लगे बना दो, तो मैंने अपने हिसाब से बना दिया।
देख भाई, और काम भी होता ना, मुझे इतना टाइम नहीं है मेरे पास सिर खपाने के लिए।
अंकल, बट ये तो आपकी गलती है ना। अब मैंने तो 1 महीना मेहनत करी है, अब आप पेमेंट में आनाकानी कर रहे हो, ये तो गलत बात है।
क्या गलत बात है? तेरे फिजूल डिजाइन के मैं काहे पैसे दूं?
अंकल, फिजूल नहीं है। आपने मेरे से डिजाइन फाइल्स क्यों मंगवाई अगर आपको वेबसाइट अच्छी नहीं लगी? अब आपने मेरे से सारी प्रोजेक्ट फाइल्स भी ले ली और अब आप पेमेंट भी नहीं दे रहे हो।
हाँ तो क्या करेगा? अबे कौन है तू? ले ली मैंने तेरी डिजाइन, 2-3 हजार रुपए ले ले, उससे ज्यादा नहीं दूंगा मैं।
अंकल, आप कैसे बात कर रहे हो?
तो और क्या करूं भाई, 3 हफ्ते से लगातार तू मेरा सिर खा रहा है।
तो फुल पेमेंट करो उस प्राइस पे जो हमने डिसाइड की थी।
प्राइस? कौन सा प्राइस? अरे कैसा प्राइस? लिखत में है तेरे पास? प्रूफ है तेरे पास? कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट साइन किया है क्या मैंने कोई? देख भाई, मुझे अब फोन मत मिलाइयो। आजकल के बच्चे पता नहीं कहां से आ जाते हैं ये डिजाइनिंग करने।